Now let's look at the United States. It's election year there. The US will choose its next president in a few months from now. The Republicans are voting on their candidate. It will most likely be Donald Trump, but at least they have a choice. On the Democratic side, there is no such choice. It's pretty much decided. Joe Biden is the sitting president. He can have at least one more term in office, which makes him the incumbent and the Democratic nominee. And he has overwhelming support. He's raising a lot of money. The odds are clearly in his favor. What's not is his memory. In the last 2 weeks, Biden has made a lot of gaffes. He's confused living leaders with dead ones. He's forgotten who Israel is fighting in Gaza. And a special counsel report said Biden doesn't remember when his son died. It's a low blow. All of this has raised one question. Is Joe Biden too old to be president again? Let's look at what America says. These are the findings of a recent poll. 86% of those who responded say that Biden is too old to serve another term. That's an overwhelming majority. And it's put the Biden camp in a spot. They have been portraying him as an agile leader. But can they turn public sentiment? Maybe they don't want to. Look at his own vice president, Kamala Harris. In an interview, she was asked about Biden's age, about the looming concerns of voters. Do you know what she said? If Biden is incapacitated, she is ready to lead. Let me quote from her interview. This is what she says. I am ready to serve. There's no question about that. Now, Harris may be ready, but is America ready for her to be president? Let's look at her VP career. Kamala Harris shattered the glass ceiling when she became the American vice president. She was the first black and the first woman VP. But since then, it's been a lackluster career. She's had low approval ratings. She's been politically fragile. Republicans see her as a vulnerability, and more than 50% Americans disapprove of her performance as vice president. So being second in command has not really worked out for her. Will the first be any better? Which brings us to the Democrats. It was supposed to be easy for them. Usually the sitting president is the nominee, but Biden's age has forced their hand. They need a contingency plan. And right now they have two choices. Number one, Biden contests the Democratic primaries. He wins the delegate votes. The votes that are needed, he wins them. He becomes the undisputed candidate. And then he gives up his nomination. He considers the concerns about his age. He backs out and releases his delegates. Then they back Kamala Harris. She becomes the Democratic presidential candidate. That's one scenario. But what happens if Biden's delegates do not back Kamala Harris? Then it will be a scramble. Top Democrats will enter the battle, the likes of California Governor Gavin Newsom, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and of course Kamala Harris. She will be in the same race. They will all compete to replace Joe Biden. They will seek the support of delegates. Whoever wins will become the Democratic nominee. That's scenario number 2. Now, both these scenarios are contingent on one thing, that Biden willingly gives up his baton. But what if he does not? What if he continues to be on the ballot? What if he becomes the Democratic nominee and is then incapacitated? For the Democrats, it will be a disaster. If Biden cannot compete, the choice will be in the hands of the Democratic National Committee. It has 450 members. They will choose a new nominee. Of course, all of these are hypothetical situations. Biden and his camp have dismissed all of it. The president says his memory is fine. His team argues that he's healthy and he will run for the next term. The US may want a young face, but they don't really have a choice. Come November, they must choose between 2 old white men, an 81-year-old and a 77-year-old.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.